Good morning. I'm Sarah, the Real Simple Mama. It's cold and disgusting out here. I'm out here with the girls. They just got some treats. I'm going to do a 5-minute chicken tip video about should you have lights on in your chicken coop. So good morning. This is so ridiculous. The swimming pool is out because it was like 85 degrees yesterday afternoon and now it's 40. Welcome to Texas. But let me get straight to the point. We've had a discussion here on my YouTube channel, which is full of intelligent, awesome, friendly, helpful people. As far as should you put lights on in your chicken coop? Why would you? Why shouldn't you? Just some things to think about. Now, I'll tell you what I do, but let's first talk about why you may want to. The main reason that people put lights on inside their chicken coop, we're not talking about like floodlights out in the area to try to prevent predators, or things like that. I definitely recommend that you do that really, really quickly. You can see my rope lights here going around the perimeter. They are weatherproof, squirrel-proof, pretty much idiot-proof rope lights that I use out here just to give a little bit of light. But I mean, let's be real, light alone is not going to keep predators out. But the reason people would put lights inside the chicken coop, like where your chickens are actually roosting and sleeping, is to extend their laying season. Essentially what you're doing is you are extending the daylight hours. You're tricking their bodies into they're thinking that they're getting more sunlight than they really are, to push their bodies to lay more eggs. They need daylight, kind of like how we need vitamin D. So you would put lights on in your coop to trick their body into thinking there's more daylight hours than there really are. For example, here in the winter right now, you would want them to have a minimum of 10 or 12 hours of mock daylight or daylight total. So the way you would do this, I'll teach you how to do it, but I'll tell you, spoiler alert, I don't do this, and then I'll tell you why. If you wanted to put lights on in your coop, there are a couple of things you need to be wary of. The first is, of course, the fire hazard, the danger, the risk of running electricity, because you are going to have, you can see this other video that I posted of, we've got rats in the neighborhood. Hey. We've got rats that come in at night. Rats, mice, squirrels, even your chickens might peck at the electrical, so you have to be really careful and be very aware. So there's that risk. There's a fire risk. There's always people who use heaters or lights or things like that in their coops, and there's always a couple in the San Antonio area every year that burn down. So there's a couple of risks. But what you would do is, if I were to set lights on in my coop, the way I would do it is I would want it to be fairly bright in there. It's not a heat lamp. We're not talking about heat. So none of those like reptile bulbs or brooder bulbs or anything like that. Like literally you're just doing mock daylight. You're making your chickens think it's still light outside when they go up to bed. So for right now, this time of year, it's getting dark, let's say between 6 and 6:30. What I would do is I would have the lights on a timer, or you can come out and do it manually, but I would have the lights come on from 6 p.m. until, let's say, 8 or 9 p.m. Then they shut off. So your chickens think that they got daylight all the way until 8 or 9 p.m. Then you do need to have the lights off for the rest of the night, so we don't totally screw up their circadian rhythm. So they still do have a night cycle where, just like us, their bodies can recharge, they can rest, they are repairing tissue, they are growing new cells, all of that kind of stuff. Females in a species, whether they're laying eggs or they're mammals or whatever, when they are born or when they are hatched, they have a finite set amount of eggs or of ova or, whatever it is. That's as many as they're going to lay in their life. So if you have this finite amount, just for the sake of argument, let's say there's 100. Obviously, it's way more than that. But let's say it's 100. If you have chickens like I do, and you don't run the light bulbs, and you let their bodies rest in the winter and not get a lot of eggs, when they're molting, you don't push their body that hard. You just let their bodies do their thing. They will go through that 100 eggs really slowly, so that when they're still 5 and 6 and 7 years old, they're still laying a couple eggs a week. You have that finite amount, and you're spreading it over a greater amount of time. Does that make sense? If you push their bodies, and this is more like what the egg farms do, the places where the chickens are for eggs and they're selling the eggs and they need to make a profit, they will push the hens' bodies a lot more and say, no, I don't care if you're laying eggs when you're 5 or 6 years old. I need you to give me all of your eggs now. So they put lights on in the coop, or, obviously we won't get into the horrible nature of a lot of those places. Chickens who don't ever get to feel like just real dirt. They don't ever get to do this. They don't ever feel the sunlight, etc., etc. They pump those chickens hard. They pump those bodies to be like, just give me eggs fast. They do the lights in the coop or the equivalent, right? so that the chickens will lay all of their 100 eggs by the time they're like a year and a half. Of course, in that instance, and I won't go into detail, but those chickens are no longer useful to those egg factories, and so they dispose of them in ways you could Google it, but that you don't want to know. But just know that those chickens are going to stop laying eggs more quickly. It's kind of like if you have a full tank of gas. If you go a nice even 40 miles an hour, that tank of gas is going to last you a long time. If you floor it the whole time, you're going to run out of gas much more quickly. And that's essentially what's happening with your chickens. So if you choose, you could put lights on in the coop. There are plenty of people here on the channel who are regulars who choose to do that, either because they have a lot of chickens and they need to sell the eggs. That's part of their livelihood. They just choose to do it because they want the same amount of fresh eggs all year round. That's fine. But just understand, you're going to wear out your chickens, your hens' bodies. You're going to wear them out a lot more quickly than if you just kind of let nature do their thing, which is what I choose to do. So that's whether or not you should put coop lights in. Now you know why. You have some tips as to how. I don't have recommendations of bulbs or setups or anything like that because I don't do it, but you can certainly look it up. There's plenty of backyard people here on YouTube or just on their websites, on their blogs, where they can tell you the kind of stuff that they do use. Cool? So let me know in the comments, do you choose to put lights on in your coop? Why or why not? A lot of it, like I said, it depends on how much are your chickens making money for you? Are they part of your livelihood? How many chickens do you have who are laying? Do you have different ages? All of those different factors. So let me know in the comments, but I hope that kind of sheds some light on if you should have lights on in your coop. Thanks for watching.